In today's episode of Win Over Depression, we unpack the weight of stress and worry and how they silently impact your mental health. You'll learn what stress is, how it shows up in depression through exhaustion, overwhelm, and mental fatigue, and how unchecked worry can keep your mind trapped in fear and uncertainty. But most importantly, we center this conversation in faith, reminding you that you were never meant to carry these burdens alone. Through God's word, prayer, and intentional action, you can begin to release stress, quiet your thoughts, and step into a peace that goes beyond your circumstances. If you've been feeling overwhelmed, stuck in your thoughts, or emotionally drained, this episode will guide you back to truth, help you reset, and remind you that healing is possible. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to Win Over Depression. I am your host, Tamara Trotter, depression overcomer, author, social work expert, proud Delta, loving daughter and sister, aunt to 8 and great aunt to 3. This podcast is your safe place for healing, growth, and real transformation. In this space, we explore faith, learning how to trust God even when we feel uncertain and overwhelmed. We also confront stress, understanding how it impacts your mind, body, and spirit, and how to manage it in a healthy, sustainable way. We navigate loneliness, processing the quiet moments where you may feel unseen or disconnected, and we unpack anxiety, exploring what it feels like to battle internally while still showing up externally. I am overjoyed that you are here to gain insight and inspiration from someone who has lived with chronic depression for most of their adult life. Either way, to ease the pain on my journey to wellness. Once the fog that fueled my own depression lifted by His grace, I became well enough to pour into others. God always told me that my greatest testimony would come from my deepest pain. My desire is for you to understand this silent disease and begin to rise out of the quicksand of despair. We go beneath the surface of mental illness into the silent battles, the hidden pain, and the moments when simply getting through the day feels like a victory. You are already a masterpiece that is wonderfully made. With healthy habits, we rebuild you one step at a time, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. As we restore your self-esteem, we challenge the lies it told you that you weren't enough. We face fear that has kept you stuck, guilt that has weighed down your spirit, worry that has consumed your thoughts, and shame that has tried to define your identity. But this is not where your story ends. This is where we reset, reclaim your power, and rise into the life God has called you to live. You are committed to your healing journey. Check out my 14 Days to Manage Depression course designed to help you move from surviving to thriving with practical tools, encouragement, and daily breakthroughs. If you're ready to trust God more deeply, lean into your faith, embrace mindfulness, and take proactive steps to reset your life, you're in the right place. Before you go, just take 30 seconds to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. If this episode lifted your spirits, gave you direction, or touched your soul, your review helped someone else find the same hope. Let's begin your journey to winning over depression. Let's talk about stress and worry, two silent forces that can deeply impact your mental health and intensify depression if left unchecked. But more importantly, we're going to talk about how God helps you overcome both. First, we'll start with stress. But what is stress? Stress is your body's natural response to pressure, overwhelm, or demand. It can come from responsibilities, relationships, finances, health concerns, or even internal expectations that we place on ourselves. We can be our worst critic, taking on too much and then becoming upset when we're not able to achieve it all. In small doses, stress can motivate you, but when it becomes constant, It wears you down mentally, emotionally, and physically. When stress shows up in depression, it often looks like exhaustion, irritability, lack of motivation, difficulty concentrating, and even physical symptoms like headaches, stomach aches, or body aches. You may feel overwhelmed by simple tasks, mentally drained before the day even begins, or stuck in a cycle where everything feels like too much. So I'm asking, are you stressed? Let's talk about worry. Worry is what happens in your mind when stress goes unchecked. It's the constant what if, the overthinking, the replaying of situations, and the fear of outcomes that you cannot control. Worry keeps your mind in the future, while depression often keeps you stuck in the past. And when the two meet, it creates a heavy emotional burden. You may find yourself unable to rest, constantly thinking, questioning, doubting, and anticipating the over time. Worry feeds depression by reinforcing feelings of helplessness, fear, and hopelessness. But here's the truth. God never intended for you to carry stress and worry alone. In 1 Peter 5 through 7, it says, "Cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." That means every burden, every heavy thought, and every overwhelming feeling, you are invited to release it to God. Lay that burden down at his feet. God helps you overcome stress by giving you peace that doesn't depend on your circumstances. In Philippians 4, 6 through 7, we are reminded not to be anxious about anything, but to pray about everything. And when we do, the peace of God will guard everything. You begin surrendering it. Instead of overthinking, you begin trusting. Instead of spiraling, you begin resetting. Here are a few ways to begin releasing stress and worry today. Pause and breathe. Slow your body down. Pray. Tell God exactly what you're feeling. Write it out. Get the thoughts out of your head and onto paper. Focus on what you can control and release what you cannot. Control the controllables. Speak your truth over your life. Remind yourself that God is with you. You are not meant to live in a constant state of pressure, fear, or overwhelm. God's desire is for you to experience peace even in the midst of life's challenges. And we know that there will always be something that is going to challenge us. But what will we do? Will we rely on our faith in God to see us through? Or will we become crippled by some circumstances that we have no control over? You see, peace is not based on everything being perfect. It is not dependent on circumstances changing overnight or problems disappearing instantly. We have to work through our problems, but the way that we work through them is to not let them overwhelm us, but to take them one step at a time. It's a peace that comes from trusting God, trusting that God is in control even when life feels uncertain. When stress begins to rise and worry tries to take over your thoughts, this is your moment to pause and not panic. You can do some deep breathing by counting from 1 to 4 and then taking a break and then breathing in and breathing out. See, you don't have to figure it out today. You don't have to carry the burden alone. God is asking you to surrender, to trust, and to believe that He is already working things out on your behalf. I know it's hard to believe that, but our God is always in the background working things out for our good. So instead of allowing stress to consume you, and worry to control you, begin to shift your focus. Breathe deeply. Speak life over yourself. Remind you that you are covered and that you are supported. And in these quiet moments, when your mind begins to settle, you will start to feel it, that peace that surpasses all understanding. The kind of peace that steadies your heart, clears your mind, and reminds you that no matter what you are facing, you will get through it. This is your reset. This is your moment to choose peace. So think right now, what is causing the most stress in your life? Write it down. What would be your first step to overcome the stress? Oftentimes, the stress is caused by other people and their problems. So, how would you change your approach to managing your stress by being proactive? Write it down. What would you do? Because we can only control our reaction to situations and circumstances in our life. So think about the stress that you're feeling. Is it something that you have direct control over? Is it something that you can change? And if it's not something that you can change, then how will you change your reaction to it and how it makes you feel? Oftentimes, depression causes a physical manifestation in headaches or stomach aches. So maybe every time you feel stress, you get a headache or a stomach ache. So the thing to do is try to perceive when the stress is coming and think about your approach. Maybe you know that when one of your children comes home, that there's going to be a conversation that you need to have. Plan on how you're going to address the conversation to have the least stressful effect on you. Maybe it shouldn't even be a conversation. Maybe it should be you writing a letter and giving it to them. Or maybe you shouldn't address it when they get home. Maybe you should wait until later or until the next day. Because when we address something, that prime time when we sit down and we decide to take action, that might not be the right time. What about worry? What is it that you're worried about? What is consuming your daily thoughts? And what can you do to not let that worry be so prevalent? Well, one thing you can definitely do is pray and ask for God to give you guidance, for Him to order your steps. When your mind is weighed down by depression, stress, and worry, can feel constant, like your thoughts are working against you. What's happening is your mind is magnifying pressure, replaying fears, and expecting the worst, which makes everything feel heavier than it truly is. Instead of trying to fight every thought, begin by slowing the moment down. Again, pause, breathe deeply, and remind yourself, this is how I feel right now, but it is not the truth of who I am. Creating a small space between you and your thoughts is where healing begins. From there, bring God into the exact place where you feel overwhelmed. Be specific in your prayer. Tell Him what is weighing on you and consciously release it. You were never meant to carry everything on your own. When you shift from overthinking to surrendering, something begins to change inside of you. God's peace doesn't always remove the situation immediately, but it will steady your heart, quiet your mind, and remind you that you are not alone. Then gently begin to redirect your thoughts and your energy. Focus on one small step instead of everything at once. Speak truth over yourself, even if your mind resists it. Give yourself permission to move slowly, to rest, and to reset without guilt. Overcoming stress and worry in a depressed state is not about being perfect. It's about being consistently choosing to pause, pray, and realign. And over time, those small moments of choosing peace will begin to rebuild your strength and restore your sense of calm. Do you know what a gratitude journal is? When we're dealing with stress and worry, by writing down what we're grateful for is going to remind us that life isn't so bad. That yes, there are stresses and strains that happen, but ultimately, it does not mean that your entire life is one filled with stress and worry. We got to speak life into our spirit. We need to remind ourselves that life is full of challenges, ups and downs, controversies, obstacles that come our way, but we have to decide how we're going to handle them. It's so important that we don't make mountains out of a molehill. Sit back, think about it, and in everything that's going on in the world, how important is this stress or worry? If it's minor, then does it need your due attention now? Or can you take some time to think about what your best next step should be? Oftentimes, we should sleep on it and pray about it before we address it. That way, we have clear thinking, a clear mind, and God can lead us in the right direction. I so enjoyed this episode today, and I hope that you found immense value. Before you go, just take 30 seconds to leave a review on Apple Podcasts. If this episode lifted your spirits, gave you direction, or touched your soul, your review helped someone else find the same hope. Let's begin your journey to winning over depression. If you're ready to start your healing journey, the 14 Days to Manage Depression course is designed to give you structure and support when your mind feels overwhelmed by stress and worry. Instead of trying to figure everything out on your own, this course walks you through daily steps that help you slow down your thoughts, process your emotions, and begin to regain control in a healthy, manageable way. When stress feels constant and worry won't quiet down, having a guided plan helps you move from confusion to clarity. What makes this course especially powerful is that it just doesn't talk about healing. It gives you practical tools to apply in real time. Through guided activities, affirmations, and intentional reflection, you'll learn how to interrupt your negative thought patterns, build healthier habits, and respond to stress in a way that supports your mental and emotional well-being. It helps you shift from reacting to stress and worry to actually managing them. Most importantly, this course is rooted in faith. It helps you strengthen your connection with God while learning how to release what you cannot carry. As you move through the 14 days, you'll begin to feel more grounded, more supported, and more equipped to handle life challenges. You won't just be coping, you'll be building the tools to move forward with peace, purpose, and you can take the 14 days to manage depression in the privacy of your own home without having to go into an office where you don't know someone and sit down and talk with them. This is the opportunity for you to figure out what's going on with your mental health in a safe environment, and then decide whether or not you want to seek that professional help. But because of the stigma associated with mental illness, this course gives you the opportunity to figure things out on your own and get the expert advice that you need. Take care, and I will see you next time on Win Over Depression. Remember, giving up is never an option. Stay in the game of life because you're valuable, your life is worth living, and we want all of you on this side of heaven. Remember, God loves you, and so do I.